example, in an Arduino, you have 14 pins. So it's easy for you. If you're making a simple design, all of the 14 or 13 pins are used. You won't be confused generally. But if you use an STM, for example, STM F32F4 or F1083, it has a lot of digital input and output pins, like 80 to 90 input and output pins, and words get unused because unless if you don't have a complex project, you won't use that much pin, right? So it's better to make your work easy and understanding rather than making it more complex and rough. Let's get back to the design. So this is the motors. Okay. Does anyone know what is this? What is this? What is this? Does anyone of you know? Is my screen visible to you all?
नवीन तेरा पॉइंटर शो नहीं हो रहा है.
Yeah, but the cursor is not being seen.
तेरा
Okay,
पॉइंटर
okay.
शो नहीं हो रहा है.
Cursor is not being seen. Okay. So this is an. Let me just fix it for you. Wait a second. Is it visible now? Cursor show रहा है? Is the cursor visible now? Hello.
हाँ भैया विजिबल है.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone of you know what is this? What is this particular sensor?
Ultrasonic.
Ultrasonic sensor.
Okay, yeah, good. And what is this ultrasonic sensor used for?
Object detection.
Object detection. Yeah, somewhat good. Yeah, exactly. This is an ultra. For those of you who don't know, this is an ultrasonic sensor. An ultrasonic sensor is usually used to measure the distance of an like objection. Okay, like it has a trigger pin and has an echo pin. Like the trigger pin emits the ultrasonic waves. What are ultrasonic waves? Ultrasonic waves are waves that are above the frequency of human hearing level, that are known as ultrasonic waves. So basically you can't hear them, but the trigger pin sends around in 10 microseconds around 8 things of ultrasonic waves that will help you to just gather, which is then gathered by the echo pins, and then the distance of the object is noted. So the work of ultrasonic sensor, it is clear to you, right? So let me explain. These are the 4 DC motors, and for good and basic understanding we have named it for you. Can you see it? Front left
Yeah.
motor, front right motor. Yeah, this is a 9-volt battery, 4 9-volt batteries. Does any one of you know what this small basic component is? L293D.
It's a motor driver, I guess.
AC.
What? Pardon?
IC.
आईसी है क्या?
Yeah, it's an IC. Yeah, it's an IC. But what is this IC used for? Does anyone of you know? Like, what is this basic IC called? One of you answered motor driver, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a motor driver. You're correct. Does anyone know why? Let me just show it to you once, okay? This the usually the motor driver is not this much small, okay? Like the real motor driver that we use is this in our hardware projects. This is the motor driver that we generally use. Can you see it? Is it clear? Is it visible? This is the motor driver that we use. These are the voltage input output pins. This is the this different 16 pins which is required. This is the enable pins. Is it visible to you? This is the V out pin. So this is the basic motor driver that we use in our hardware projects. For simplification, we have used this IC driver on TikkaCAD, which has around 16 micropins, 16 pins, which are 4 input pins, 4 output pins, 2 enable pins, and 4 ground pins. Does anyone know what's the use of ground pin? Input, what is this? Input pins, output pins, ground pins, enable pins. What are these? Like, these are just name for some basic naming functions, or does this actually mean something? Does the name tell you something? Input pins, output pins.
Input pins are used to input the signals or something.
Yeah, somewhat correct. Good. Yeah. So basically, let me explain it to you. These are the input pins. Okay, as you can see, input 4. This is the input enable pins, input 3 pin, enable pin. So basically an IC has, like this IC L293D has around 4 input pins, okay, which are connected directly through the Arduino to the Arduino pins, okay, input pins. This means the IC is getting information through the Arduino, okay, which is then transferring this information to the through the output pins to the DC motors. Does anyone have a question like, why didn't bhaiya we just connect this 4 DC motors directly to the Arduino? It would have functioned well. If any person have worked on this, he or she knows that if we would have directly enabled it to the Arduino, it would have worked on Tinkercad. But why did we just connect? What's the need of these edge bridges? What's the need?
More power.
What? Speak. I'm not a professor. I'm not gonna judge you on a wrong answer. You can say
More
it
power.
loudly.
Like if we connect it directly, the output pin of the Arduino doesn't provide enough power to power like big motors.
Yeah, correct, correct, correct. So an Arduino has around gives a current output of around 40 milliamperes, but a DC motor requires around 200 milliamperes of current. So it's just absurd if you expect an Arduino to provide a 200 milliamperes of current, where the maximum limit it can reach is just 40 amperes, milliamperes, sorry, 40 milliamperes. So that's why we use this. That's why this comes in. And like most of you must have been questioning that there's a 5 volt output here, right? So why these 4 batteries are required? Since there's a 5 volt output here, why these 4 batteries are required? We can just directly connect it to the 5 volt battery, right? These motors. Does anyone know that? Let me explain it to you. Why an external power supply is required? Well, power supplies are used for every project with Arduinos, like controlling LEDs, servo motors, relays, and many more DC motors. But sometimes the Arduino can't be a power supply because of the project, like the complexity of the project, the what the project demands, like controlling more than one servo motors or more than one DC motors with 5 volt Arduino is like absolutely absurd, right? So that's the basic principle why we use a edge bridge. This is an edge bridge, okay, a motor driver and IC. Okay, now you can see the input pins are connected to the Arduinos. Okay, the ultrasonic sensors, this is the echo pin, this is the trigger pin, which is then connected to the Arduino. The output pins is connected to the 2 terminals of one DC motors and this DC motor. One IC an important point, an IC bridge, edge bridge can handle only 2 DC motors at one time, okay, because it has four input pins and 4 output pins. That's why it can have handle only 2 DC motors at a time. That's why we have used 2 edge bridges, 2 motor drivers. Is it clear to you? Let me just get on to the code now. Okay. So this is the code. You must be wondering, Bhaiya, this is a very long code, right? This is around 83 lines of code. This must be very tough, right? This must be very lengthy, very tough. But the good part is it's not actually very tough. It's like it's very easy to do. Okay, if a person who has a little, only a small amount of knowledge from the past about like programming languages like C++ or Java, he can code this in like in a minute. Yeah, even if you don't have a past previous programming knowledge, you can still code it because it's very easy to learn. It is based on your simplicity. That's why an Arduino is used. Okay, like what are we doing here? As you can see, the trigger pin, here's the trigger pin, right? Ultrasonic sensor, this is connected to the 6th pin of the Arduino. Okay, So we are specifying it, like the trigger pin is connected to the 6th pin of Arduino. The echo pin is connected, see the echo pin. The echo pin is connected to the 3rd pin of the Arduino. Okay, before getting onto this, let me explain one more thing to you. Like, do you know why this asterisk sign is shown here in pins? Is it just for some decoration? Is it visible to all of you? Why this sign is shown over here? Is it just for decorations purposes?
They can also be used for analog.
No. Does anyone know why these pins are used? Why this sign is used here?
PWM pin.
Yeah, good. Who said that? PWM pins. Yeah. Uh, hmm. So where was I? Like, do you know why this pins is used? Like, why is it is? Yeah, someone answered PWM pins, right? Yeah, I heard it. Someone said PWM pins.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So, do you know what is an PWM pin?
It's like the on and off time ratio of the signal. So you can modify how much time it should be on. Like it's a digital signal. Like you can manipulate how much time the signal should be high and everything.
Hmm. So yeah, this is a correct explanation. These are the PWM pins. PWM pins stand for pulse width modulation. You can just control the intensity of your LEDs and all that with PWM pins. Okay, which is generally, these are digital pins, but PWM pins are accessed through the function named analog write function. Okay, like for this is for basic understanding. I'll tell you. Let me open the chat box. So this is the link. Should I share it on WhatsApp? Do you want? I'll share this link on WhatsApp, okay, for basic purposes.
Namin, I've shared this on WhatsApp, so you don't need to.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, let's get back to the code. So as you can see, this is specifying the trigger pin to the pin 6th of the Arduino, the echo pin to the pin 3rd of the Arduino, and then the real left back to and all that. This is just basic functions. This is serial.begin. As you can see, an programming language gives you a code output, but an Arduino doesn't have a specified place for a code output. So it calls the serial monitor to gives you the output, and we call the serial monitor through this function serial.begin. Okay, pin mode function is used to specify that whether the particular pin is acting as an output pin or an input pin. Okay, void loop, this is digital write. This is just to show, this is just to tell the pin turn on or turn off the pin. If the pin is in high state, it is working. If the pin is in low state, it is not working. Okay, so basically what are we doing here? As I've told you earlier, the trigger pin sends out the signals and then it is received by the echo pins, right? So what is this doing here? This is actually just like when the trigger pin is high, it is sending signals, and we are giving it a delay of 10 microseconds. So it sends around 8 rounds of ultrasonic waves, and then this is turned off, which is then received by the pulsing function of the echo pin. Okay, which is high,
Bhaiya,
and
what
then
is the, excuse me, Bhaiya, what is the
yeah.
use of this delay?
What is the use of, see, like if I told you, right, if if the trigger pin is turned on, if you don't give it a delay, then how is it actually turning on? If you just off it, like in just, it's actually like if you put on a switch of a fan and just keep it for 10 seconds and then close it, so actually the fan is working for 10 seconds, right? So that's the use of this delay microseconds. You have just turned on the trigger pin for 10 microseconds, okay, and then you just switch it off.
Okay,
This is
Bhaiya,
it.
thank you.
and then the percent function, which is used to note the distance and all that, and then the distance is calculated, and this is an if else function. I've just done it over here, so that if the distance is above 50, the objection won't be detected, and the motor will continue working. And if the distance is less than 50, then the motor will stop working and the objection will be detected. Okay, now let's just simulate it. Start simulation. As you can see, as the distance is under 50 cent as a distance is above 50 centimeter, all the four motors are working. Can you see it? Can you see all the four motors working, rotating? Can you see it? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Yeah, can you see the four motors working?
Yeah, it's spinning.
Yeah, it's spinning, right? When the
Yes, it's
distance
spinning.
is up, yeah, when the distance is above 50 centimeter, the distance over here is 91.6, and when you just pull it under 50 centimeter, the motor stops working. The motor stops working. So that's how this navigation system works. That's all from my part. Does anyone have any questions, or should I stop my sharing of the screen? If anyone has any question, you can just ask it right now. See, why do we require four batteries? An interesting question. We require four batteries for our for our purposes in order to explain you well. Okay, this project can be done through two batteries as well. But to explain you, to make it more simpler, we have added four batteries, so most of you don't get confused. That's why, and of course, to provide a better output. Is there any more questions? Should I stop sharing my screen? Okay, I guess this is it then. Thank you, everyone. I hope you like this.
Okay,
Now,
Samrat Bhaiya, I guess,
Yeah, Nabil.
Ashwin, I guess meeting not been recorded.
does anyone
Yeah,
have any
it's
questions?
actually being recorded by one of our members.
Okay, okay.
It's been recorded by one of our members.
Now,
So
Mukesh will continue. Yeah.
yeah, so thank you, Namir. That was a great session. So okay, guys, I hope you're all taking it well. And we have done with one third of the session, covering a phase out of three, which is so here it was navigation. Please take some time to fill out a short poll. So this will also reflect your attendance. So make sure to fill it for both your review and your polls. So Mukesh will be posting a link in the chat box. Click on the link and you'll be redirected to a website wherein you will have to answer 5 questions. So let's do that now. Yeah, the link is there now. Points will be there for both correct answers. Answer 3 to 4 questions in a row correctly, so that streak points get added to. So once we have around 100 members over there in the screen that Mukesh is sharing, we'll start the quiz. Guys, I hope everyone has joined. There are over 100 participants here, but then we got only 90. Please join as soon as possible so that we can start. So yes, Mukesh, we can start now. So at the end of the first poll, uh, I think Sir Shivin Mangal has won the game. Congratulations, Shivin. Great work. And others, please don't get disheartened. We got two more polls left. So kindly be attentive and interactive, and you can use this field. So we'll be moving on to the second phase of this workshop, which will be taken over by Mukesh.
Hi guys, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, my yeah. I hope you can see my screen. So first of all, I would like to ask, uh, is your Python ready with any ID or text editor of your choice? You can raise your hands. Those who have it ready. Okay, okay. Okay, okay, so most of you have it ready, so we can go ahead. Yeah, so first and foremost, we need to make a Python virtual environment. We will be doing the face detection using OpenCV. So first of all, we need to make a virtual environment. And for those who don't know what is a virtual environment, well, Python applications use many different modules, okay, like Flask, TensorFlow, OpenCV, and so many more, for which provide extended and key functionalities that do not come pre-bundled inside the Python installation. That's why we need to download these packages using a package manager like pip. But it often so happens that the dependency versions for one application does not suit that of the other and causes loads and loads of problems. And that's where virtual environments come to our rescue. A virtual environment basically lets you isolate a project from all the other projects in a system so that you don't have any dependency conflicts. It's highly recommend it's highly recommended you always use a virtual environment for any Python application you're making. So I'll make a new folder. Let's name it Plasminoid, and I'll open it on VS Code. There's a good old welcome screen, and next we have to open terminal. It is right here in the taskbar, not taskbar, it's a toolbar. So yeah, open a new terminal, and the command you have to write is pip install virtual env. This will install the virtual env package if it's not already installed. So yeah, in a few seconds this will be installed. Yeah, I have it already installed, so no need to install it again. And next we need to do first we have to write virtual env, and then write the name of the virtual environment we would like to make. So I'll name it venv, and that will make a virtual environment right here. As I am on Linux, it will not be the same for most of the people like you who have Windows. So the next thing that you got to do is wait, I'll just write it here. You have to do venv slash scripts slash activate.psl. This command will activate PowerShell activate virtual environment in your PowerShell. For Linux though, I need to write source venv bin and then activate. This will activate my virtual environment in my terminal. There you go. Our virtual environment is up and running. And now that the virtual environment is up and running, let's download the necessary dependencies. We will need two dependencies, OS and CV2. OS is a module that provides functionalities to interact with your operating system. Okay, so like deleting files, installing files, and others. Okay, it comes pre-installed with Python, so you don't need to download it again. Yeah, make sure you download your libraries, guys. Yeah, but we have to install CV2. Now what is CV2? CV2 is the Python package alias for OpenCV. It is a huge open source library for computer vision, image processing, and machine learning. And this is the de facto library for anything related to computer vision and image processing. Okay, so this is the OpenCV is the module that we are going to use to detect human faces. Okay, and to install it, we will do pip install OpenCV Python. That will install OpenCV, and as it is already installed on my system, that will be over soon. But it's a fairly large package, around 60.3 MB, so it may take some time for you. Okay, and meanwhile it downloads, I'll tell you how you will go about detecting faces. Okay, so we will be actually using a pre-trained model from OpenCV's official GitHub repo. This is OpenCV's official GitHub repo. Okay, and there's this thing inside data and har cascades. There's this file har cascade frontal face default.xml. This is a model file. Okay, this basically what model file contains is that it contains rules and instructions for how a model should work on a specific image or video while recognizing something from it. Okay, so we will be using this using OpenCV, and where is it? Yeah, here. So as you saw, we are going to use something known as har cascades. Now what is a har cascade? Well, it is an object detection algorithm used to identify faces in an image or a real-time video. Okay, the algorithm basically uses edge or line detection features and basically the algorithm is given a lot of positive images consisting of faces and a lot of negative images not consisting of faces. Okay, so what I think someone texted, what is the command to create a virtual environment? Well, it is the name of your virtual environment, VNV, then scripts and then activate dot psl. That will activate the PowerShell inside your inside that will activate, in fact that will activate your virtual environment inside your PowerShell. Okay, for me, as I am on Ubuntu, I have bin instead of scripts. Okay, so I used VNV bin slash activate, but you need to use VNV slash scripts slash activate. Okay, I hope I solved your doubt. Yeah, so right about making telling about, what was it telling about? Yeah, Har cascades. Okay, yeah. So what basically a Har cascade does is, if we talk in a very high level overview, is that it generates a Har feature. Now, what is a Har feature? I'll show you what Har features look like. This is what Har features look like. Okay, these features on the image make it really easy to find out edges or lines in an image, or to pick areas where there is a sudden change in the intensities of the pixels. Okay, so we make this Har feature, we make these features traverse through the entire image or picture that we are inputting our program, and the objective here is to find out the sum of all the image pixels lying in the darker area, of the Har feature, and the sum of all the image pixels lying in the lighter area of the Har feature. Okay, so naturally all images with face or faces will have somewhat similar edges and features, and will be very distinct from edges that won't have a face. Okay, there is a really detailed article. Yeah, the libraries are OpenCV and OS. OS is already pre-installed in a Python package, but you need to install OpenCV, that is pip install Python dash OpenCV. I'll write it here. OpenCV dash Python. Okay, okay, I'll go a bit slow then. Okay, so I'll explain the Har feature again then. I guess you've not understood. So what Har cascade does is that it generates a Har feature. Okay, these are what Har features look like. Okay, these features on the image make it really easy to find out the edges or lines in an image, or to pick areas where there is a sudden change in the intensities of the pixel. So basically, when you look at a face of a human, it will obviously be very different from images that won't contain a face, right? It will be automatically it will be automatically generated in the model itself. Okay, we have the model trained already, we don't have to train the model. I'm getting to it. Okay, so we make these features we make these Har features we make these Har features traverse through the entire picture and extract the distinct edges and lines from it. Okay, so basically, when these Har features detect a line or an edge of a face, because obviously a human face will obviously have an edge. Okay, will obviously have an edge in the image which you are inputting, and most of the human faces will have similar edges. Okay, so based on that, it will identify a human face. The objective of this Har feature is to find out the sum of all the image pixels lying in the darker area of the Har feature, and the sum of all the image pixels lying in the lighter area of the Har feature. Okay, that is the main motive of using a Har cascade. So naturally, all images with a face will have somewhat similar edges and features, right? And will be very distinct from images that won't have a face. Okay, so I'll link a very detailed explanation. Send the link. I've sent it on WhatsApp. I'll send it here also. Just a second. This article will have a very detailed explanation of what a Haar cascade will do. Okay. So okay. How many of you have understood like basically what a Haar cascade will do? Could you just give the names of all the libraries we have downloaded until now? Yeah, OS and OS is pre-installed. Only OpenCV we have downloaded. Only and only OpenCV for now. Guys, can everybody who has understood like what a Haar cascade does or what a Haar feature is, can you raise your hands? I just want to see how many of you have understood. It basically only detects the edges and lines of a face and then takes a sum of it to detect further faces that we input. So naturally, the more faces we will give, the more positive images, the more negative images of faces we will give, the more accurately our model will predict. But we don't at all need to do it. It will take it, like training a model literally takes a hell lot of time. Okay, we need data. I'm talking about data more than 5 GBs or 10 GBs. Okay, to have a very good good model with an accuracy above 95% or 96%. Okay, basically yeah, but OpenCV has already done it, and it has already uploaded a model right here, so we will be using it. Okay, yeah, okay. I guess we can go to does anyone have a doubt? Yeah, okay, so now we can move on to code our um, face detection algorithm. I'll close my terminal. I'll make a new file called face detection.py. Can you please tell me what code was written before VNV? Yeah, I'll just yeah. First we will write pip install virtualenv. Then I'll write virtualenv VNV. Then you need to activate it. Okay, you're getting an error. Let's see. Scripts. Okay, just write activate, then just try with only activate. Don't write PSL then. Samyukta, I'm telling you. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll go about let's start coding. So first I'll import my libraries. So I'll import OS, and then I'll import OpenCV. OpenCV alias for Python is CV2. Import CV2. Yes, it's yeah, nice. Okay, now that we have imported our package, let's import our model file from the OpenCV's repositories. Okay, so to do that, we will first define a file path. Let's tell it cascade path is equal to path dot dir name okay, I have to tell os dot path because it's an OS module. Os dot path dot dir name, and then we will write cv2 dash dash file dash dash plus this one plus this one. um, This is inside the data repository. So I'll write data first a slash forward slash and then frontal face. What is that? Har, har, har cascade frontal face default.xml. Yeah. Har cascade frontal face default.xml. There you go. We have defined our file path in the GitHub's repo itself. What this function, this cv2.file method will what it will do is that it will fetch this har cascade frontal face default.xml model. Okay, we don't need to download it specifically using this cv2.file. So after that we will define the model. Let's name it face cascade is equal to cv2 dot cascade classifier, and then we will input the path, cascade path. Cascade classifier, what this cascade classifier will do is that it will load up this model. Okay, this har cascade model, it will load up this model, cascade classifier function. Next we will open up the webcam. Okay, I'll open up my webcam because that's what I'll use. cv2 dot and the function is video capture. Next you can input any integer, but the default webcam's key is 0. Okay, you have to use 0 for the default webcam on your laptop. If you are using an external webcam, it may be -1 or 1 depending upon the number. Okay, so try it out. So try experimenting with the numbers if you have an external webcam. Okay, so next we will start a loop so that our webcam remains on till you manually close it. So I'll start a while loop, while true, then we will capture individual frames from the webcam's video feed. Okay, to do that we will define two variables. Get frames is equal to video capture dot read. Okay, so this video capture dot read will do is that it will capture individual frames. Okay, individual frames from the video. Now we have to process the individual frames, and to process any image, first we convert the image into grayscale. Okay, because it will be feeded in color, right, in BGR, blue, green and red format. So we have to convert that into gray. Okay, grayscale image. We can do that using cv2 dot convert color, then we'll input frames, and then we will input cv2 dot color bgr to gray. This right here, this will convert our bgr images into grayscale. Do we have any doubts? Okay, nobody has posted any doubts. I'll go back. So now we have converted our images into grayscale images. Now we will basically make a function that will detect our faces. Okay, this will be the main function that will detect our faces. So we will do that using faces is equal to face cascade. This one, we will load up our model. So what our model will do is that it will detect faces, detect multi-scale. This is the function that will detect the faces. Okay, detect multi-scale. We have a doubt, I guess. Where is it? I got this error. Yeah, recording will be available after this meet. Okay, shortly. I guess this scripts in S is capital. Okay, I guess, and I'm not sure. Yeah, the scripts in S should be capital. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go about doing this. So we will be defining some parameters here inside detect multiscale. Okay, what parameters it will contain? First, it will contain the grayscale image. Then it will have a scale factor. Um, Scale factor is equal to, let's give it 1.1. This is purely based on experiments, so don't worry. What scale factor does is that it specifies how much the image size should be reduced at each image scale. Okay. Write only activate, Dipansh, write only activate VNB scripts with capital and then activate. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Hit. Okay. After scale factor, we will define minimum neighbors. Okay, minimum neighbors is equal to let's give it 5. Okay, let's give it 5. Basically, this parameter is specifying how many neighbors each candidate rectangle should have to retain it. So basically, when we detect a face, it will make a rectangle around the face, right? So how many neighbors we want to detect at once when we are running the model. Okay. Hey, please look into that issue. Okay. Yep. Yeah, the electrical and programming team will look into the issue. So I'm continuing here. So yeah, and then we have to define min size, the minimum size of the face we want to detect. Let's give it 30. It will be a tuple. I hope you know what a tuple is. So objects smaller than this size are ignored. Okay. So this parameter determines how small the size you want to detect. Then we will give a flag. Okay, this is a necessary parameter inside multiscale. Flags is equal to cv2 dot cascade scale image. This goes inside by default inside the detect multiscale function, so don't worry about it. Next we will be making a bounding box. Okay, so what detect multiscale will basically detect the face, but we have to make a bounding box around it, right? So that we know that our face has been detected. So we will give it 4 points for 4 coordinates of a rectangle: x, y, let's give it w and h. X, y, z in faces. In faces, we will draw a rectangle using cv2 dot rectangle. Then we will pass frames. We will pass first points are x and y, one coordinate, and x and y are the center of the rectangle's coordinates, and then we will be specifying the length uh, using x plus w and y plus h. Okay, this is how big a rectangle is gonna be around the face. So basically, and next we will be defining the color of a rectangle. So basically we will be outputting RGB rectangle. So we will let's give it a green color. Okay, so RGB, so 0, 255 and then 0. And next we will give a thickness to it. Let's give it a 2. Okay, 2 pixels. The thickness will be 2 pixels, and then we will show the frame. Okay, we will keep showing the frame continuously so that it shows up like a video feed. So I am show, let's give it a name video, and then we will pass frames into it. Next we have to define when to stop our webcam. Okay, so to do that we have to give cv2 dot wait key 1, and don't worry about this, what this means. This is a cv2 function, is equal to odd q. So basically what I have done is that uh, if I press q on my keyboard, then the video feed will stop. Okay, This is what this function will do basically. Okay, it will break out, and then we have to stop our video feed. Basically destroy our this video window. Okay, video capture, release, and then cv2 dot destroy all windows, and this is the whole face detection code. Okay, it's just around 30 lines, and now I'll run it. Okay, I fingers crossed it works. Ah, okay, I'll run it using Python 3.
Can you show the code once again?
Yeah, I'll
The
actually
last
share.
part. Just the last part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just tell me when you're done, okay? Is it okay? Can I move ahead? I have shared the code in
Yeah.
what?
Done.
Okay. Okay, I'll run my. Let's run it. Fingers crossed it works. It will take some time, I guess. Yeah, you can see, right? It is detecting my face. All right, there's a bounding box around my face, and yeah, if I press Q, which you'll see right, I'll press Q now. Yeah, it stopped. So there you go. That was our face detection. I have sent the code on WhatsApp, so look into it. And yeah, did you guys understand? Look into the HAR Cascade article that I have given. It will clear any doubts you will have. Can you raise your hands, those who understood? Okay, I guess others are writing the code and yet to see if it is working, but I'm sure it will work. Okay, I've tested it on all platforms, so I'm sure it will work. Yeah.
Could you share the .py file instead of the text file because the indentation is not matching?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll do it. I'll do it right now.
Also, for the path file in the second line, you are directly taking from GitHub, right? How
Yeah.
instead of downloading, right?
It's an
So
OpenCV function.
will the script able to connect to the internet and take it? Like
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
sure how
It
that
is
works.
It is inside the OpenCV's repo. Okay, so what the cv2 dot dash dash file dash dash will do is that it will take it right from the internet. Okay, so you don't need to
Okay, thank
download it specifically. Yeah, I'll be sharing the code file. We have a doubt. We facing some issue. We'll look into your issue, okay, Rishikesh. We'll look into issue.
Mukesh, I have shared the .py file.
Okay, okay, thanks. Ananya and Ashwin, you may take over for now.
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, guys. So hope that went well, and thank you, Mukesh, for the wonderful session. So now that we are done with the 2/3 of this session, it's time for the poll now, which is based on voice assistant. So guys, Mukesh will be again posting the poll link, and just open the chat box and get ready to attempt the poll. Guys, keep joining the poll. Okay, guys, so for those who haven't joined yet, I'll send the quiz.
Is my screen visible, guys?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, I could not see the red thing around, so it was okay. Okay, so now that we have implemented our phase detection program, let's move on to making our own virtual assistant. Okay, so the most distinct feature of a humanoid is that it behaves somewhat like a human, right? And what better way is there to show something to be similar to humans than being able to talk and speak in an intelligent way? So I guess we all have interacted with virtual assistants, right? Ananya and Ashwin had asked a question. You all had answered Google Assistant, Microsoft Cortana, Amazon Echo, and many others. Cookie AI. There are n number of chatbots, virtual assistants that are out there. So let's dive right into making one basic virtual assistant of our own. So that can tell us the weather, open up YouTube, Chrome, Gmail, tell us jokes, fetch us news articles, and even search up basic definitions from Wikipedia. Okay, so we'll go right about it. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. So for this, we need to download a bunch of modules. Okay, and the code is it's like very long. So what I'll do to do it fast will I'll be copy pasting. I've sent the Python file in the WhatsApp. So I'll be copy pasting from here. First, what we need to do is this. We have to install a bunch of modules. Okay, really many modules. So basically we need to do this. Pip install PyTTSX3, Wikipedia, speech recognition, PyJokes, requests, and Beautiful Soup 4. Okay, you can leave out Beautiful Soup actually, it's not really required, but yeah, this will take some time. Okay, and I have already installed them, so I don't need to install it again. Where is it? Right here. Yeah. Right here. I hope you can see the code. Everything is visible. We have a doubt. We have a doubt. No. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on. Run that. Okay, run that. Pip install PyTTSX3, Wikipedia, speech recognition, PyJokes, requests, and Beautiful Soup 4. Could you also share the GitHub repo? Yeah, I'll share. Okay, I'll share the GitHub repo right about now. Wait, Hate or Ritwik, can you share the GitHub repo in the WhatsApp?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Share the entire repo. So let's talk about the modules that we will need for this. First one is PyTTSX3. Basically, this is a module that we will use for conversion of text to speech. Okay, so basically, whatever string we will give to it, it will output it as a voice. Okay, through the speaker. Next is Wikipedia. So using this module, obviously we can search things from Wikipedia. Okay. Then there is speech recognition, which is pretty self-explanatory. Since we are building an application of voice assistant, one of the most important things in this is that your assistant recognizes your voice. Okay. So whenever you say something or ask something, obviously it should recognize your voice and then convert your speech into text, right? That is how it will interpret. That is how we can compute it further. Okay, then there is web browser. Well, obviously it is to perform a web search. PyJokes is a huge collection of Python jokes over the internet. And then there is requests. Okay, requests is a module used for making get and post requests. Okay, we will use this in fetching the current weather data. I'll show you, okay, what get and post request mean if you don't know. And then there's Beautiful Soup 4. It is basically a library that makes it easy to scrape information from web pages. Okay, so while we extract something from a web page, okay, like Wikipedia or something, we need to use Beautiful Soup 4. Okay, so we'll start with the code. I'll explain each and every line. First we will import all the necessary libraries. import speech recognition as SR, import PyTTSX3, import date time. This will tell us the current time. Import Wikipedia, import web browser, import time. Time and date time are different. Don't confuse in that. And import requests. Okay. First, we will print something out in our console that will say loading your personal humanoid Prisma, and then we will initiate our voice engine using PyTTSX3. Okay, uh, so for okay, for most of you will have Windows, you know. Uh, so for Windows, this is for Linux. Okay, this is for Linux. For Windows, you need to type SAPI5. Okay, inside this as a parameter. So copy paste this. What SAPI5 is that it is the default voice engine of Microsoft Windows. Okay, it's really optimized, so it will really work wonderfully in Windows. But if you use it in Mac or Linux, it won't work. Okay, for Linux, you also need to do a sudo apt-get install libspeak. Okay, only for Linux. Only for Linux, basically for Debian. Okay, you need to install the libspeak module. Okay, now that our engine has been initialized, we will get the voice. Okay, what we want. Basically, there are two kinds of voice: 0 for male, 1 for female. I have chosen the male voice. Uh, so yeah, basically what this will do is that will fetch the male voice from the PyTTSX3 library. Okay. Module not found. No module name speech recognition. It's speech recognition. It's like capital S speech, then a no. Uh, yeah. Hate and Ritwik, kindly look into that. Okay. The speech recognition module basically. Its correct name might be in PyPy. Okay. Okay. I guess there is some problem with that. I may have missed. I may have a spelling error. I guess. Okay. Hate and Ritwik will look into that. So by then I'll explain this. Yeah. Yeah. SAPI 5 is only for Windows. Okay, Mac and Linux people don't use that. It will not work. SAP 5 is a very optimized voice engine that is only for only there in Windows. Okay. Okay, so then this we have defined a function that will input any that will take in any parameter as a text. Okay, it will take in any parameter as a text and then output it as a speech. Okay, this will be a function that we will use very often in our main on the end of video window. Okay, we will check that when we finish with this. Okay. Then our engine will say the text. It will output the speech. Then we have a function wish me, wish that will wish you whenever you start your virtual assistant. So based on the hour of the day, it will tell you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Okay. Basically, there is an if-else statement. You can understand it. Error for P, not PTTSX3, it's PyTTSX3, PyTTSX3. Speech, nice. Yeah, pip install PyTTSX3. Thank you, Hit. Okay. And then this is basically a function that will take in any command from the microphone. Okay, it will define the input from the microphone. So basically we are defining a variable R that will recognize something that we tell into the microphone. Okay, So with sr.microphone as source, the microphone will be the source. We will adjust the ambient noise from the source, and then we will print listening, and then we will listen from the source. Okay. So then there is a try except statement. What the try statement will do is that it the recognize Google is a function inside this PyTTS63 that no speech recognition. Okay, it is inside the speech recognition. So what the speech recognition module will do here is that will recognize the speech that you have just told. Okay, and then it will convert that into text. It converts speech into text, and then it will print that statement. User said this. Okay, and if it doesn't understand, if you are talking in Hindi or Tamil, then it won't understand, and it will say, pardon me, please say that again. Next next those were our only functions that we will need. So first, when we start up our program, it will say loading your personal humanoid prisma, and then it will wish us. Okay, and here is the main program. Okay, here is the main program. If name is equal to main, this is where our program will start, and then we will keep a loop to keep the assistant on, and and the assistant will always continue keeping taking in statements, and how until what it will continue till you say goodbye or okay bye or stop. Okay, so if you tell goodbye, okay bye or stop, it will speak your personal humanoid prisma is shutting down, goodbye, and then it will break out from this main program. Okay, it okay, it will break out from this while loop. Okay, it will break out from this while loop. Then we are scraping something from Wikipedia. Okay, using the Wikipedia and Beautiful Soup 4 module. Anything we will say, like let's say we will say, tell me something about humanoid Wikipedia. Okay, so the moment it hears the word Wikipedia, what it will do is that it will delete the Wikipedia word from the statement, and then it will perform the search on the word humanoid. Okay, in Wikipedia. Okay, and it will fetch 3 sentences from the humanoid Wikipedia site. Okay, and then it will speak according to Wikipedia, and it will then speak all the facts that it has fetched. Then we have 3 elif statements that will open YouTube, open Google, and then open Gmail respectively. Okay, so the function is web browser, that open new tab, it will open in a new tab, and then the this uh, URL of the thing you're opening. Okay, it can open YouTube, it can open Google, it can open Gmail. Next, there is a big elif statement which will fetch us the weather data of any place. Okay, this basically works using an API key. Okay, what is an API key? For those of you who don't understand, I'll show you. We will use the Open Weather Map API key. Open Weather Map is a huge service. Okay, it has a weather API. Using this weather API, we can literally request things. Okay, we can input the current weather data. We can do hourly forecast for 4 days. There's a one call API, climatic forecast for 30 days. So there are a bunch of APIs, but what we will need is that we will need current weather data. So if you want to use it, then make a sign in, make a account, and then fetch an API key of your own. Okay, fetch an API key of your own. I have fetched an API key of my own. Here you can use this also. Okay, there are no issues. And then there's this base URL of the API. Okay, next it will take in the it will ask you what is the city name you want to look for. Okay, I can give it Chennai, Bhubaneswar,
Should we
whatever.
also generate our own API key?
This API key I have sent you, that will work. Okay, but yes, you can generate your own API key.
So that the 8.5, that is itself enough.
Yeah, it is
Whatever we
enough.
give. Okay, thank you.
This will work. but obviously it has like a limit up to how many days it can work. I don't really know the limit, but yeah, you can use this. Then it will take a city name as the command. Okay, it will take a city name as the command, and the whole base URL will look like https api.openweathermap.org data 2.5 weather question mark. Then it will have the API key, and then it will have a parameter that will contain the city name. That will be the whole API request. Okay, that will be the whole API request, and using that it will get something. Okay, it will get some data out of the servers of OpenWeatherMap. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. And the data will come in the form of a JSON format. Okay, JSON formats is just like any file format, but it has a very good data management structure. Okay, so it is very easy to fetch data from it. Then we fetch the current temperature from this JSON file using current temperature, and it will come in kelvins. So we are subtracting 273 from it, and then current humidity is we are fetching the current humidity, and then we are fetching the weather description. Okay, if it is misty, it is cloudy or something. Okay, do we have it out? Thank you. Okay, yeah. Then and then our virtual assistant will speak that the temperature is this degrees Celsius, the humidity is this percentage, and the description is this, right, and it will also print out the results in our bash or command prompt or PowerShell. Okay, and if it does not find a city, if it interprets something wrong, then it will tell that city not found. Okay, then there is elif. Then it if we ask it the time, it will fetch the time. And then there is this most common question that virtual assistants get asked, like who are you or what you can do. In that case, if we ask this to our virtual assistant, it will say, I'm Prisma version 1, your personal humanoid. I'm programmed to do minor tasks like opening YouTube, Google Chrome, Gmail, Stack Overflow, predict time, search Wikipedia, predict weather in different cities, get top headline news from Times of India, and much, much more. Okay. And then there's this question as who made you in statement, or who created you, or who discovered you. Then it will speak that I was built by Humanoid X, obviously. We can also open Stack Overflow using it. If we tell it open Stack Overflow, it will open Stack Overflow logins page. And then we can also fetch news articles. Okay, we can also fetch news articles. We in right here I have opened the Times of India headlines. Okay, headline page, and then if we search anything, it will replace the search term in the if I say search humanoids, then it will replace search, and then Google search humanoids only. Okay, in your web browser. And literally, and yeah, literally that's it for the whole code. Okay, that's it for the code. I'll run it and see. And I'm telling it once again, as the voice engine of PyTTSX3 is not really optimized for Linux and Mac, and I'm running on a Linux system, the voice will be really robotic and shaky. If you do it on Windows, it will be really it will be a really optimized voice. So it may be shaky. In my case, let's see if it works. Chatbot.py.
Hello, good afternoon. Tell me how can we help you now?
Okay, did you hear it, guys?
Yes, we listen that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really a mumbo jumbo English kind of, so it might be better on your laptop. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. Tell me how can we help you now?
Open YouTube.
Biotiverse open now.
Okay, it
Tell me how can we help Bio now?
Tell me the weather.
What's the city number?
Chennai.
Pardon me, please say that again. Temperature 16.3 no 25 degrees Celsius. The humidity is 7% of the description. Overcast clouds. Tell me how can we help Bio now?
Humanoids Wikipedia. Humanoid Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
It didn't understand.
Hello, good afternoon. Tell me how can we help Bio now?
Humanoid Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia. A humanoid, from English humanoid, resembles a non-human entity with human form or characteristics. The earliest recorded of the term, being present at 1870, referred to and denounced the operation areas colonized by Europeans. By the 20th century, the term came to describe fossils, which were morphologically similar, but not identical, to some of the human skeleton burnt out of this is of the past common and the synthesis form of the 20th century, but is now considered rare. Tell me how can we help Bio now?
Stop. Okay, bye. Stop. It's a stop now. Yeah, okay, bye. Stop. Okay. Okay, it worked as you saw. Did you guys understand the code? But my application started for the first. Okay, then. The system went for the first line and tried to get it. Yeah, okay, nice. For Windows, I guess it will tell you to download some further modules. Look at the terminal screen. You will identify what you need to download further. It's easy to okay, Pi audio also. I guess yeah, you need it. Okay. Okay, I have sent you the code. Okay, as you saw, it works. You can download the dependencies later. Don't worry about it. If you have any doubts, you can always ping us anytime you want in the group, personally, by any way. Okay, so yeah, Ashwin and Ananya.
Yeah, so that was really great and exciting, Mukesh. And for those who are facing some issues, you can download and restart your PCs later. Also, you can ping us anytime if you have any issues, and we'll be sharing recording also, so you can look that. So now that we have completed the technical aspects of our session, we will have a final poll. So make sure you fill it out. Mukesh will send the link in the chat box.
A small doubt.
Yeah.
Instead of using this module, can we use that Google's text-to-speech module, text-to-speech engine?
Yeah, obviously you can use that, but it will have some other functions, so you need to check on Stack Overflow or something, or their official documents. Okay, it will obviously
Okay.
work.
This one does not require internet connection for the text-to-speech part. Right?
It does not need it. It is directly in PyTTS63 module, so there is a
Oh,
model that will recognize your voice.
thank you.
Great, guys. Others also can turn on the videos. Okay, cool. So, guys, I'll send the certificate link in the chat box. Fill in all the details, and you will get the certificate of our workshop. That's really important as you have attended all the quiz and remain throughout the session. So, fill this. I'm sending the link in the chat box.
You have sent it?
Yeah, just fill in this form. It's for certificate for our workshop. And then also send it in the WhatsApp group for the convenience. Yeah, so also I'll send the Instagram handle of Humanoid X. Make sure you follow our page on the Instagram. We will be posting all the updates there. So yeah, stay tuned with us. Make sure you follow our Insta page. Okay, so I hope everyone is filling the form. Okay, so thank you for joining, guys. We hope that you had a fruitful and informative session with our club. Many more events to come, and we really look forward for your participation in the upcoming events too. And yeah, we are sorry again for the discrepancy in the beginning. Thank you, guys. Hope you have learned a lot. And if you don't have any doubts, you're free to leave.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Hoping to see you all in other sessions
Thanks,
too.
everybody.